Soldiers of Shoot.
Hello, troops. This is General Stames, and we're here with another Soldiers of Shoot. I'm sitting alongside the Electric City Saint, Bobby Ventura, and Hollywood Edwards, Jeff Edwards. Gents, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Saint?
I'm doing great as well. It seems like we've had quite a busy week here at the Soldiers of Shoot. We're having a lot of fun here.
I feel like we're on here every day recording something new. It's crazy.
Well, I wanted to get your take on this, guys. The main event of WrestleMania 35, Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. It appears that there are some rumors that it's not going to be the main event. On Ronda Rousey's own show, she was driving around with her husband, who is, by the way, banned from WWE ringside. And they were talking about the fact that it looks like that it is not going to get the top billing of the night. Hollywood.
Yes, sir.
What went wrong? Why isn't this the main event? This match, this whole thing was laid in their lap, and now, hell, they were promoting it for a time as the main event. And now all of a sudden it looks like maybe it won't be the main event. What's going on here?
I'll tell you what's going on, my friend. What's going on is something that we've been talking about for the past 3 weeks, and that's about women's wrestling. If you look at what they've been doing on Raw, they are getting up and down numbers. They are trending down. It's kind of chaotic. They haven't been getting a rise in their ratings points. It just is what it is. But if you look at SmackDown, they are steadily increasing. What's the difference? I ask you, what is the difference?
There's not very much women's wrestling on SmackDown. Now, this past week, they did have it.
Where's the interest, though?
They brought Sasha and Bayley in this week for a tag team match. But you're right. The interest this past week was Kofi Kingston.
And it's been steadily growing for the past 3 weeks. And I think it's because of Kofi Kingston, which tells me, if I'm Vince McMahon, damn it, pal, the women can't. The interest level is with two guys, and their names are Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, it's true. The ratings for SmackDown have increased every week in the month of March. So there's 3 consecutive weeks now where the ratings have gotten higher and higher and higher. From the February, I think it was 25th show, to the March 2nd, whatever it was, it got higher and then higher and then higher. So it is trending up. There's no doubt about that. It's a good point. What about you, Saint? What do you think? What's going on here? Why would they pull the rug out from the man? I mean, come on. She's the biggest thing in wrestling since Stone Cold Steve Austin. What's going on here, Saint?
Well, I think the biggest thing, we've said it a million times within the last almost 2 months practically, they kind of botched this whole story that they had by, taking her out of the match, putting her back in, adding Charlotte to it. I mean, they kind of just made a big muck out of it by just totally bastardizing the original story that they had right in their laps that they could have worked with. And, to Ronda's credit, and even to Becky and Charlotte, they're doing their best they can with this, in my opinion, based on, what the booking is, how the writing is. I mean, even Rousey has gone on to say on that thing that she recorded that, she feels like, in her personal opinion, she's done everything necessary to make it the main event. And, to that regard, I could kind of agree with that. But at the same time, every single week, they're being outshined by one of the biggest things going on in professional wrestling in recent years, this Kofi angle. It's very big. And, I almost feel like at this point, there's no way that's not the end of the show. And if it's not, it definitely would have to probably be the Becky Ronda Charlotte match. I think them are the only 2 real options. I look at Rollins and Lesnar. It's not that hot, really. and I see that, and I just don't see that ending the show. I don't think there's enough excitement or hype for it. And that's good and that's bad, because in my opinion, the big, excitement and the big spotlight should be put on the WWE title. That's the most prestigious title that's been in the, since the company started practically 50, 60, 70, whatever years ago. That should be the big thing that gets that spotlight. Now, whether it will or not, we're going to be finding out here in about 2 weeks, but I'm really not sure how they're gonna go with this, because we've said it in the past and it's been reported multiple times. Vince does not make up his mind on this stuff till the very last second. So I don't think we're even gonna have any clue what the real main event is until the very last second of this. I mean, we practically had an argument with AC whether Kofi was the main event or not, and I look at it, I don't see anybody else that could be. It's either him or Ronda and Becky.
I got to say this too. I know what you're saying about the story, Saint, and you can blame the WWE booking all you want, but the fact of the matter is, to me, Becky started getting over when she got punched in the face by Nia, right?
Right.
And she's bleeding all over the place. That's what really started this thing. They pushed her to January and put her in position. If you go back in history, would Steve Austin have dropped the ball? No. Would Hulk Hogan have dropped the ball? No. Would Macho Man? No. Think about all the names you can say. Would The Rock? No. Becky dropped the ball. I don't care what creative gave them. The fact of the matter is, and people aren't admitting this to themselves, and I think the wrestling world should. Becky was put in position, and it fizzled out. Especially talking about Vince McMahon. He's going to look at that and go, I don't know how this happened. We put her in position, and here Ronda Rousey has taken over the whole show. So in the pecking order in that match, Ronda is now over Becky. To him, he's probably looking at it like this. If I put any other guy in that position, they would have kept it hot and kept it going. She didn't. And I think they lost the main event because of Becky. I'm sorry.
What do you say to those people who say the reason why she cooled off is because they booked her to tap out against Asuka?
They, 1 hour later, they put her in the main match against Charlotte, and she won. Was she cooled off when that show went off the air? I would say no.
Probably not.
I think she was hot. The crowd was hot at the Royal Rumble. The problem that I viewed it, and again, we have fresh eyes on this. And Stames, I'll pass it to you. You tell me if you agree or disagree. But we've been watching hardcore again since about January. Me a little bit before. I started tuning in December again. But to me, Becky has come out, and we've talked about this. We even did the show. Becky 316 says nothing, right? She would come out with the mic in her hand, and she goes up on the ropes, and she's just waiting. It's like she's begging for the crowd. After you do that 5 or 6 weeks in a row, the crowd's going to stop responding to you because you're not giving them anything. She picks up the mic and says nothing. Now, she's cut 1 or 2 decent promos since then, since the Royal Rumble, but in my opinion, she needs to go out there and grab people by the throat like Steve Austin would, and she's just not doing it. I don't think she's capable of doing it yet.
Do you believe in your heart of hearts, even when the talk was that this woman's match was going to be the main event, do you believe there was ever a time in Vince McMahon's brain where he was going, yep, the women's match is the main event?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think he thought it was probably a good possibility.
Saint, do you agree?
Yeah, I kind of do agree. Too, I just feel like, to Ronda, I think this is maybe more to Ronda's credit than to Becky's detriment. I think, she's, either way you look at it, whether you agree or not, they are making noise with this. I mean, Ronda is making headlines, and, but I think everybody's talking about her. everything I feel like she's doing is working. You do whatever you have to do to get the people watching, but
they're not talking about the
Edward
redhead.
said,
They're not talking about the redhead girl. That's the problem.
That's the problem, because I think this has shown that Ronda's definitely the big star in this now, practically, even though she's the heel, because I think more people are gravitating towards her. Even you two have said that at this point, you'd rather see her win the match.
Stames, do you agree with me? I mean, you've been watching. My God, you're a guy that was in the WWF way back. You saw these guys perform. I mean, I would argue that there were maybe lower mid-carders that would grab the crowd by the throat and do a better job than she's been doing.
Here's what I think happened. Honestly, this is what I honestly think happened. I think you're right. I think when she took the punch in the face and she bled, she got over big time. I don't think she was ready for that. And I think what happened was she got cast into this, kind of pushed into this main event picture because of, the fans, because she did have this, this love from the fans. And I don't think as a character, as an in-ring talent, as a professional wrestler as a whole, I don't think she was there yet. I don't think she was ready for it. And I think it started to show.
That's a good way to put it. I do remember saying the spot itself is too big for her right now.
And I think Vince McMahon saw that immediately, and that is why he put Charlotte into the match. If you watch, they're doing promotional events now where they're sending some of these people out to promote WrestleMania. I just saw a couple of different things where Charlotte was the one that they sent, not Becky.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's Charlotte and Ronda Rousey that they're sending out to promote this match, not Becky.
Yep.
And I have to say, I do agree with the Saint, too. I think that the Kofi Kingston match against Daniel Bryan, somehow, I think it has overtaken, at this point, there's still 2 weeks left, but I think it's overtaken the interest of the Seth Rollins-Brock Lesnar match. You look at Raw this past week. I could make a case that there is more right now. There is more heat in the feud of Rollins versus Drew McIntyre than there is in the Rollins versus Brock Lesnar match. I mean,
like at this point, guys, if they close with Rollins, it's probably going to get a good pop. If they close with Kofi, it's going to get a huge pop. If they close with Becky, is it going to be as big a pop than Kofi or Seth? I just don't know.
And especially 7 hours later, that's an aspect you have to think about. Mm-hmm. Because those people are going to be sitting there for 7 hours, 6-7 hours. You're really going to have to give them something to get them up at that point. I don't see anything bigger than Kofi Kingston winning the championship to do that.
Yeah, true.
I just don't.
That's true. I'll say this, too. I want to throw in Ronda because everybody's listening to me thinking I'm sexist over the past 2 weeks. I love me some Ronda Rousey.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God that she's in this program, because if you take her out of this and this is just Becky and Charlotte, it's dead in the water. Dead. Think about it.
It's true. And, bro, all I can do is hope and pray that Ronda Rousey goes in there and beats both of those women in 1 minute.
You want a squash, don't you? You want that squash.
Saint, what are you rooting for?
Yeah, what do you think, Saint?
I don't know, bro, at this match. I still think they're going with Becky. But I do look at it this way. I either want her to just win clean, or I want what all it seems like all four of us seem to kind of want would be to see Ronda just go ham and just go beast mode out there and just friggin' squash them all in like 10 seconds flat. I think people would pop for that. It would get a huge oh my God moment. And I think actually, it'd be pretty cool and it would be authentic. Ronda Rousey, that whole thing, the baddest woman on the planet, is no joke. I mean, former UFC champion that held the title for multiple years, and I really think that she could legitimately take them down to the ground and tap them out within 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I mean, bro, she's done it multiple times in the UFC in a real fight. There's no way she couldn't do it in a scripted, a wrestling match, especially like if they're not prepared for it, bro, she'd just overwhelm them in seconds. It'd be nothing.
I would like the idea of, the referee looking surprised, like Ronda went rogue and she's not following, she's not following the script or something like that. I think that would be a fantastic way to play it. Hell, I'd be all right with the fact if she did go rogue and didn't go by the script.
Right.
I'd be fine with that.
Stames, let me ask you something. Because you're like a booking expert when you watch these matches. I mean that, too. We have off-air conversations, and you say shit that I miss. So let me ask you. If they are going to put Becky over, how do they book the match to make Ronda look weak in order to get Becky over? Because the way they've been booking Ronda, especially over the past 2 months, she is an unstoppable beast. How the hell do you even book it?
Yeah, well, I think that if you're going to do that, if you're going to push Ronda Rousey aside, which, by the way, I think is a mistake, but if they do that, they're getting rid of Ronda, and who knows, maybe she's leaving them. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. Now, from what I heard originally with her contract, she signed a multi-years deal, so that would tell me that she's still under contract. But if you're going to do that, I guess you have to get Charlotte out of the way somehow, and you have to put Becky over Ronda. You have to somehow get Becky to tap out Ronda Rousey. But here's the thing, dude. No matter what they do, I ain't believing it.
Nobody is, are they?
And the reason I'm not believing it is because Becky tapped out to Asuka. Why would I believe that she could beat Ronda Rousey? I don't believe it. And if they go on to have Asuka, say, drop her belt at WrestleMania early in the show to Mandy Rose, well, then that makes it even worse. Because then Becky tapped out to the girl who lost to Mandy Rose. Or Sonya Deville, if it ends up being that.
Right.
I think they've created a lot of problems in this division and in this storyline. And you said something weeks ago. They could have just left Becky and Charlotte at SmackDown and had them wrestle each other for the SmackDown Championship, or had them do a 3-way match with Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had Ronda Rousey wrestle anybody. Hell, they could have brought Beth Phoenix in for Ronda Rousey. Right? They were going to bring her in anyway, it looks like.
And they could have
Instead of bringing her in for a tag match, bring her in to lay down for Ronda Rousey. You could have had her wrestle a couple of matches and let her go over big time too. Made Beth Phoenix look real strong and had Ronda beat her anyway. It doesn't matter to me who Ronda wrestles, because especially with the way she is now, with the character she's playing now in this heel role, I don't care who she wrestles. I don't care what she does. That girl is gonna sell. She's gonna make money. So I think they made a lot of mistakes in this, in the women's division and in this program in particular. Saint, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I agree too. I think they made a lot of mistakes over the past several months. Especially, I think the biggest one obviously was having her tap out to Asuka. All right, I think that was a huge mistake, of course. And then it almost got negated because she ended up winning the Rumble an hour later. It was very strange the way that they did that. I think there was definitely all kind of other ways they could have went around this, or hell, like we said in the past, they could have just stuck with it just being Ronda versus Becky. But I think, to what Edward said, it did seem like, she's kind of fizzled out a little bit. But at the same time, you have to realize, there's a lot of time in between, between the Rumble and WrestleMania. I think that kind of hurt them as well, but there's nothing they could do about it. Yeah, of course, all these pay-per-views were already booked months, almost a year in advance at the stadiums. There's, of course, they're going to still have them. There's nothing they could do about it. But it almost seems like that big drop off between Rumble and Mania. Some people are good at maintaining, that big hate or their big fan support that they gather. And then some of them, like in the case of Becky, they slowly they can't hold on to it. They can't keep it because, for the most part, the wrestling fan nowadays doesn't have the longest attention span, and a lot of them get bored with stuff fast. Even as like AC said, he's begging for a storyline, even though it's right there. And it's the same thing even with the Becky thing.
Yeah, that you think about it, her tapping out and then winning the Royal Rumble is the epitome of 50-50 booking right there.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah. I don't disagree with that.
That is the epitome of 50-50 booking. And you know what else it does, though? It shows you that 50-50 booking doesn't work.
Since we're on the topic of WrestleMania, I want to get your guys' opinions on this. Are you guys at all, worried that how this WrestleMania is going to go as far as the fact that there's potentially going to be 16 or 17 matches? Because I'm looking at this, and 16 matches is extremely excessive. And, but at the same time, it's not unheard of. If anyone doesn't remember, was too, young to see it or know about it, WrestleMania 4 at the Trump Plaza, that had a total of 16 matches. So, of course, that was the big tournament for the vacant WWF title, that culminated with Ted DiBiase and Savage. But, this is a whole different, total different situation this go around, especially considering the fact that, this is going to be like a 6-7 hour show. They have way more time, and there's practically 10 championships on the line. I'm worried. It's also like it's worrying that I don't know if they're going to be able to keep, people's attention that long, especially like you guys said for that main event. Like, are they even going to be alive at that point for Kofi if he does end up being the main event? I kind of worry about that, because it seems like this year more than the past, they're more worried about quantity rather than quality. They're trying to fit everybody on the card, which I could see that perspective, but at the same time, I think it's going totally overboard this year.
I'm very worried about it. I'm planning to go over Hollywood's house, and in my head, I've been battling this out for days now. Do I want to get drunk so that it doesn't hurt so bad, the pain of how bad this is going to be? But then I got to drive home, so I can't get drunk. So I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Am I going to fall asleep on Hollywood sofa again watching wrestling? I mean, I don't know. I mean, dude, you think about this. You go and you turn on the pre-show at 5:30, legitimately at 5:30. And last year, the show didn't end till like a quarter after 12. So 5:30 to 12:30, that's 7 hours of that. I mean, I have a hard time with the 3 hours on Monday night.
It's true.
How the hell are we going to get through 7 hours of that? And dude, if you look at the card, it's just, it's not that great. Now, right now, they don't have any of the tag team matches actually on there. If they're going to do, if they're going to do the tag team matches, I hope they don't convolute them with, they're all, 3 teams or 4 teams in the match. Just do it with 2 teams facing each other, please. I know they're trying to fit everybody in, but holy smokes, you got battle royals for that. If you want to fit everybody in, I don't need to see a freaking 14 tag match yet.
You know what I would like to see, but I know they won't do it. Me personally, if I was booking this, I would actually have a match to unify the tag belts. Have the Revival versus the Usos. What an incredible match that would be. I actually think that could be interesting and entertaining, because they both have sort of a heel dynamic to them, but I think at the same time, they're very much in that gray area that Edwards talks about.
Yeah, Saint, I'm worried about the matches too, the match amount. I guess I'm kind of planning a party. And I say I guess because I don't know if anyone will come, just for the simple fact that there's 17 matches on the card. Or 16. I mean, Stames, you could come over. Yeah. The doc, yeah, come on over. The other kid, yeah, come on over. Your brother there, the little ring boy there, Mel Phillips lover. Yeah, you guys all might descend on my house. And listen, dude, 5:30 pre-show. All right, we'll be all happy. We'll be excited to get together and have some chow, have some beers. And then you know how it's going to go, bro. We're going to eat. We're going to be full. 6:30, 7:30. All right, the main show, 8:30. I say about 8:30. You guys that have to drive an hour, you're going to be starting to nod off. Oh, what do I do now? Do I eat more or do I drink more? How do I get through this women's tag team match? I don't know.
It's true.
It might be a very, very, very long, boring night.
Yeah, too. You got to realize, too, a lot of their audience is little kids. Now, I don't have a son or a daughter or anything like that, but, that's almost an impossible task asking, your kid or whatever, if they're even a big fan of WWE. Like, it's going to be very hard, I think, for them to want, to get somebody that young to actually want to stay committed and be stuck to the TV screen that many hours. I mean, especially, it's a Sunday, it's a school night essentially. So I almost wonder, in a lot of the bigger matches, if a lot of younger people aren't even going to see them, because I think a 7-hour show, that's just too much to be asking of somebody that young to be just sitting there that long for that. It's almost an impossible task.
That's a great point.
I wish we knew somebody who had a kid that we could actually ask. Oh, you know what? Hollywood.
Hey,
do you have one of those?
I do have one of those things.
So what are you going to do with the kid? Are you going to let the kid stay up for the whole show?
You know what? I was actually going to leave him off the next day if he wants to. But, dude, I don't know if it would be worth... let's say that Kofi, he's going to be... Look, Roman Reigns and Kofi, they're his 1A and 1B right now.
Okay.
So Roman will probably keep him occupied early on. And, I don't know. Maybe they'll push him to the end, too. But, I mean, he might be falling asleep at 10:30 because he's so bored out of his mind. How long is it going to be until he says, Daddy, can I have your phone? What are we looking at? 8 o'clock because he just watched 5 matches that were boring? It's possible.
Yeah.
Speaking of Reigns, does it worry you at all that McIntyre referred to him as Joe on Raw? Do you have an opinion about that, you guys?
I think it's, Joe brought it in. It's funny because I watched the old Perry Mason shows on TV, and, you'll always have these lawyers battling, well, why is he bringing that up? And then the judge will always say, well, you're the one that brought it in here, so I guess he can follow up, Well, Joe's the one that brought Joe into it, so I guess Drew can use it. My thing is, it does seem like they are, I think it was you, Bobby, who mentioned that several weeks ago that, that seems to be happening a lot in the WWE. And it's more and more and more. So I think they're doing that on purpose. I think it's, that's going to be their attempt to make things more real, if you will. So where do you stand on that, Hollywood?
I'll say this. It's confusing as a parent that has a child that's watching it. Because he hasn't he didn't see the Joe parts of that promo that Roman cut. But I mean, you could get away with probably saying, well, his real name's Joe, Roman's kind of a nickname, and he might be surprised about that, but it's acceptable. But I think at 5, 6, 7 years old, if Macho was on the mic and he said, "Ooh, I'm gonna get you, Terry," and the excuse was, well, he's calling Hulk Terry because it's real. I think at my young age, back then, my brain might be fried, and I might go, wait a minute, what exactly am I watching?
Now, wait a minute. So, as a kid, you didn't really think that somebody named their kid Hulk.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you figured he was signing legal documents.
Hulk Hogan, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For the Electric City Saint, for Hollywood Edwards, I am General Stames saying so long, and we'll see you next time.
Soldiers of Shoot.